So great to have you here this evening, or as I say, whenever you're joining us. I'd like you to, if you're not already, do you know how to go to gallery view so that you can see everybody's picture? Um, that's a real lovely thing. I'd like you to just see who's here. Now, many of you have your videos blocked, and that's okay. I just want you to have a feel that you're a part of something bigger. There's 28 of us here tonight, and I want you to see if you can just from the heart feel your connection to each other. The Sufis have a wonderful saying, nobody goes through the desert alone. You travel in a caravan, right? And so this is our Wednesday evening caravan, and we're all doing this together. And I love that image. And even if you're joining us on YouTube later and watching it, the heart knows no time and space limitation. And so you're a part of this energy field, even if you're watching it weeks and months later, it's totally fine. Just allow the heart to tune into the other hearts that are present here and to tune into the intention of showing up to experience the fullness of the light. Those of you that have been in on these Wednesday night classes, especially recently, we've been talking about two categories of spiritual experience or spiritual practice. Do you recall? One category of spiritual practice is to attune to the light, and the other category of spiritual practice is to purify the shadow, all the energies, karmas, and samskaras, and so forth that block and inhibit and limit our experience of and ultimately our identification with the light. So tonight's title then is an attempt to bring these together. The title of the class is Attune to the Light, Attend to the Shadow. Attune to the light, attend to the shadow. So we want to do ultimately both of these with our spiritual practices. Because really, the deeper we get into the shadow, the more we realize there is stuff here that can't be healed if we're operating just from our conditioning. The personality cannot heal its own wounds. It'd be like standing on a rug and trying to pull it out from under you at the same time. So we attune or turn to the soul, to the higher self, to the light of spirit, of divine grace, and learn to allow that to penetrate deeply into our experience and to heal everything that needs to be healed and to awaken everything that needs to be awakened. All right, so that's our intention. And I'm so delighted that you're here with us to do this together. So it takes courage to do this work. The ego would just as soon turn away from and pretend that the shadow doesn't exist. The ego would just as soon stay in kind of the shallow end of our life and stay very focused on the drama in the outer world. But these energies don't just go away. These repressed energies don't go away. We've developed as human beings over the course of our evolution, lots and lots of patterns to resist and repress pain and discomfort and sadness and loneliness and despair and shame. And actually, when we're young, it's really a very important thing that we have skills. If we don't have a supportive environment, if we don't have parents that are attending, if we have parents that are even doing the hurting, it's very important that we have a survival mechanism like dissociation or resistance and repression. But that pattern, as we grow older, becomes a problem. And it's very important as we come into a deeper desire to grow and evolve, that we establish very skillful means to deal with all that has been repressed into our life. All that's been repressed continues to contaminate our sense of who we are, our image of ourself. It contaminates our view of the world. It contaminates our interaction, strongly influences how we interpret what's going on around us. We experience the outer world based on the consciousness that we're operating from, that we're viewing from. So if I have in my system lots and lots of unresolved issues, that will very strongly influence how I perceive the outer world and my place in it. So on the spiritual path, the process of purification is a very central kind of a thing where we work in collaboration with divine grace to heal and clear everything that obscures our clear vision of who we are, and ultimately our deep realization and absorption into our true nature. All right, so tonight we're going to work with the shadow, but first of all, we're going to connect with light. We're going to connect with our higher self, with higher consciousness. This isn't something that has to be very ethereal or mysterious. It, of course, is always a mystery, even as we get familiar with these practices. It's always a mystery what we turn into, what we tune into. But it doesn't have to be so mysterious that it's not something that we can like consciously and intentionally collaborate with. So we get better and better through practice at tuning into our higher nature. We're never separated from it. It can feel as though we are when we're lost in the stories of our mind. We may feel undeserving, we may feel abandoned, we may feel angry, at God. There's many, many things that can block our experience of the light, but the light is always present. It's always a part of our true nature, and therefore it can be a growing part of our experience. So to connect with that light, and then to be able to go deeper in and be able to allow the light to flow to everything in our experience that's hurting, that's struggling, that's suffering. This is a very important practice. And those of you that have hung out with me through the years know that this is mostly what I do, various versions of it. And so I don't offer tonight's practice as some kind of new, brand new, profound kind of revelation to you. I offer it as a way of practicing what many of you already know, but we all need support in deepening our relationship to these practices. So we get better and better. And as we get more skilled in doing these visualizations and these meditations, we begin to lose our fear of whatever might bubble to the surface in us, so that when the time is ripe and we're in times like now, both individually and collectively, where there's a lot of stuff being brought to the surface by what's going on in the world, then we'll have a skillful means and an effective way of working compassionately and effectively with what is brought to the surface. We won't feel threatened by it, nor need to continually refer to things that help us to escape. All right, so I'd like to move into this with you now. If you're not already in a position to meditate, I encourage an upright position, if that's possible. Sitting up nice and straight, but also in a way where you can feel relaxed, so that we can meditate for 30, 40 minutes and your posture won't distract you. And to center into the present moment and into your own experience, let the breath deepen, become slower and fuller. So you slow down your inhalation and you slow down your exhalation. And really concentrate intently on the experience of breath. the inhalation and exhalation. With every exhalation, allow your body to more deeply relax. Long, slow, full, deep breaths. With an added concentration of relaxation, letting the body unclench, maybe for the first time today. So you have this sense of settling into yourself. And you may notice as you watch your experience that there are uh, some emotions that may be uncomfortable. There may be an active mind that's having a hard time settling in, or a sense of restlessness, or even a sense of resistance. And all this is totally normal and fine, not something that indicates that something's wrong at all. Especially for those of you that may not uh, practice on a regular basis, there may be a sense of this is strange to turn inward. My awareness is used to turning outward. It's used to being stimulated through a news feed or a Facebook feed or a television program or something to do on the outer world. It may be unfamiliar to sit and turn your attention within, and that's okay. Just stay with it. Settle into yourself. And it's possible that even after these first few minutes, there is a greater sense of quiet, centeredness, perhaps a sense of well being, perhaps a sense of peace. If that's not present for you, that's totally fine. Just be aware of whatever you're experiencing and let it be. Now, I'd like to begin this practice tonight with a very important element, which is asking for help, opening to grace. I'd like to invite you to do this with all your spiritual practices whenever you're doing them on your own, that you would always start with asking for help and opening to grace. Now, there's 29 of us here, and perhaps every one of us has a little different view of what you would ask for help. God, Spirit, the universe, your higher self, Christ consciousness, your Buddha nature, a great saint, or ascended master. And all of these are totally appropriate. Whatever you would use, whatever name or idea that you would use that helps you to connect with a sense of a universal intelligence and love that is utterly present and engaged and supporting your life and holding you in its heart. Now, again, this is optional. If you don't feel resonant with this step, then don't worry about it. Every step along these practices needs to be your choice, something that you feel you can consciously and intentionally choose with your sovereign will. So for me, it would be something like, Divine Mother, Father, I open myself to you, to your grace and to your guidance. Without your grace and your guidance showing me the way, I'm quite lost. I make myself open and receptive to the way you would lead and guide my life in this moment toward a greater alignment, attunement, and alignment with the light of your presence, and a deeper clearing and purification of everything that runs contrary to the vibration of divine truth and love. Now, that's how I do it, but you don't have to do it that way. It doesn't have to sound like that. Maybe that sounds too much like church for you. And so do it in a way where you feel you're opening yourself to the inflow of divine grace and guidance. Use the language that works for you. But please don't be shy. When Jesus was on the planet, he said, the reason you don't have is because you don't ask. Ask, and it shall be given to you. Seek, and you will find. Knock, and the door will be opened unto you. Now, that's right out of the mouth of Jesus. He's trying to help us to see that there is immense, incomprehensible resources available to us. All the resources of the universe that have ever been available for any master walking this path is available to you right now in this moment. So we connect with those resources through asking for them. Please help me. I need your grace and guidance. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Now, as you open in this way, when you ask for help and open to grace, then it's very important that you pay close attention to the way in which divine grace responds, because it always will. It is impossible for you to pray a prayer like, please help me, I'm opening to grace, and grace not respond. It always will respond. But sometimes it's subtle. We have to learn to attune to the response. So you may feel a unique kind of peace steal over the heart. Or you may feel an intuitive sense of presence. Or you just may feel more settled and centered in yourself with a greater sense of calm. Or there may be just an odd sense of confidence that you're not alone. Now, there may be none of those things, and that's okay too. Just visualize then an inflow of light from above. Think that your crown chakra is like a camera aperture, where the plates slide open or close to let more or less light in. Think that you're opening the camera aperture of your crown chakra as fully as you can to receive the response to your invocation. If you're visual, you may perceive this as light coming down. If you're more kinesthetic, you may feel this as a gentle vibration or a warmth. I invite you to visualize this response as light coming from high above the head, pouring down from above into the crown, down through the entire body, through the chakric system, all the way down the legs and out the soles of the feet, so that you are in this flow of light. It continues to flow out the soles of your feet and down into the earth, deeply down into the core of the earth. Just feel yourself to be in this column of light, this flow that fills you internally and also externally. It fills your aura, your energy field. And I like to acknowledge this process, even if there is some part of me that's going, oh, this is all made up. Even if there's a part of me that is saying that, I like to acknowledge it just by saying, I open to the light of your grace. Have your way with me. I open to the light of your grace. Just have a sense that your entire energetic system, your chakric system, your energetic meridians are opening and flowing now with this light of divine spirit. Now, another aperture that I like to visualize opening is the space behind the heart center. So if you're to visualize a portal or one of these camera apertures right between the shoulder blades, have the intention of opening that up, and in flows the light of your soul. The soul, which is always present in your system, always operating, but typically behind the scenes. Now you invite that presence more powerfully into your conscious experience. By feeling the aperture between the shoulder blades open up and a sense of light, love, intelligence flowing in from behind into the heart center. Again, feeling it as light, feeling it as warmth, a subtle tingly energy. All of these sensations become more real the more you practice. Now, as the light of the soul comes into the heart center, it meets and blends with the descending light of spirit, continuing to flow down almost like a river of light from high above, down through your system, and down into the core of the earth. And where the descending light of spirit and the light of soul meet in the heart center, it becomes a brilliant, like mini sun. Just visualize that. I open to the light of your grace. Show me the way. Have your way with me, in me and through me. And so this light, this presence now in the heart, just think of this as the light of divine intelligence, of guidance, of inspiration, the light of love, unconditional love and compassion for you and for all beings. Now, I invite you to notice if there's any part of you that feels resistant to this, just be aware. We're going to be working with that kind of thing later, but you may be already in the experience, some of you, of some resistance. Or another thing you might be feeling is, I don't really deserve this. So that's a different form of resistance. One form of resistance may be, I don't trust this. I don't believe this. I don't think this is happening. Another form of resistance is, it's happening, but I don't deserve it. We'll be working with that in a moment. Just be aware that may be present. Now, there's another step I'd like to invite you to make, and this is totally your choice. If this does not resonate with you, then just be patient as I move through it. But if you choose to, I'd like you to open yourself to the possibility of connecting with great beings of light, with all the ascended masters. So for me, it would be, I would say, I open now to all the ascended masters of the spiritual hierarchy. I open now to all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. I open now to all the liberated saints and sages of all religions. These great beings of light, these masters of divine truth and love, who are currently helping humanity to move through this profoundly challenging time. I ask that their light will blend with mine. I open to the angelic kingdom and realm and the great archangels, and I ask that their light will blend with mine. And then open to receive and feel the response. These great beings exist to be of service. They have no longer any work to do for themselves to clear out their own egos. That work has been long done. They stay close to this planetary dimension to be of service to the evolution of all beings. It is their great joy to facilitate our continued growth and development through the process, this multi-lifetime process of waking up. It is their great joy to help you. But again, it's the law of the universe. We must ask for it in order to connect to it. Let the light of these great beings blend with my light. And let that light become a perpetual burning presence in my life of divine truth and love. May it shine in a way that brings great benefit to others. So now just notice what you're experiencing as you've opened to this higher spiritual dimension in the ways that we have over the last 10 minutes. Have the intention every now and again, just check in with your crown chakra and the space behind the heart and reset the intention to keep the aperture wide open so that this river of light will continue to flow through you from above and come in from behind. That this presence of divine truth and love will be radiant in the heart. So this is the first step, the attuning to the light. And now, from the light, we attend to the shadow. And this takes a little courage at times because we might be in a very peaceful place, a very lovely place, and we don't want to mess with the shadow. But the light wants to flow, to heal, to clear everything unlike itself. It wants to bring all aspects of your life into alignment with truth and love. It wants to help you be free once and for all from all sources of suffering, all illusion and ignorance, all the old patterns of thinking and feeling and behaving that keep you stuck in a sense of a small, struggling, suffering, separate self. So just courageously, honestly, and vulnerably look into your system to find there things that are not fully resonant or in alignment with the light that you're attuning to. And you might say into your own inner life, what needs to be healed right now? What needs to be deeply seen? What needs to be acknowledged? What so desperately needs the light of love? If you were with me a couple of weeks ago to learn the practice, the who is it that practice, now's a good time to use that. Who is it that feels anxious? Who is it that feels alone and lonely and abandoned? Who is it that feels angry? And just let the questions bring your awareness to connect with these energies. What is it that I spend a lot of my time and energy staying very, very busy in order to avoid? What is it that I stay fixated on my devices to avoid? Looking for the pain of the part of us that struggles. Looking at this pain, at this anxiety, at this feeling of inadequacy, looking at it with the eyes of the light. The eyes of the light is your awareness. Through your awareness, you create a bridge, a point of connection between the light and the shadow. You've attuned to the light on the top end, and on the bottom end, you look for everything that's not yet resonant with the light, everything that you normally would turn away from. Financial fears, restlessness, feelings of depression, feeling that you can't take one more day of sheltering in place, fear about what's happening in the world, fear about a future that seems so uncertain. And when you find these energies, fix your attention on them intently. Let yourself feel them fully without becoming them, without losing yourself in them. Stay identified as the light. And as you hold them and you feel them, let yourself just be curious to explore them a bit, not analytically. Don't get into an analytical thinking process about them. Just be present and with them and see what they reveal to you. And then very, very subtly, while still keeping the eyes of the light on these energies, these uncomfortable energies, allow the light to come in from these open apertures and just gently flow into these energies, suffuse them. I open to the light of grace. Have your way with me. Have your full effects here in these painful aspects of my life. Clear out any and everything that obscures my awareness of the light and my awareness that the light is my true nature. Clear it all out. So continuing to cultivate this sense that your awareness is the interface, the connection point, the meeting place between the light of divine grace and love and truth and these darker, denser, heavier energies that have been repressed throughout this lifetime and perhaps for many lifetimes into the shadow, into the subconscious level of the mind. Just maintaining your courageous intention to let the light penetrate into the deepest aspect of your being, the most painful levels of your being, to bring about the deepest healing and purification and transformation, serving your process of liberation. Now, there's one more visualization that I would like to share with you. This was given to me by a friend of mine some time ago, and I love this visualization. Use it all the time now. I'd like you to visualize right in front of you, just outside your auric field, that there is a bank of stadium lights. You know, stadium lights, like if you're at the ball game at night, these super powerful lights that kind of shine down. There's usually a bank of them, you know, 2 or 3 down and 4 or 5 or 6 across. Real brilliant lights that light up the whole field. I'd like you to imagine that there's a bank of stadium lights right in front of you. And it's shining this brilliant light into you. Now imagine that there is another bank of stadium lights behind you. Again, just outside your aura, brilliantly shining into you. To the left side, there is a bank of stadium lights shining in from the left. From the right side, there's a bank of stadium lights shining in from the right. Can you feel the light intensify every time you add another bank of lights? From directly above you, there's a bank of stadium lights radiating powerfully into your system from above. And from below you, another bank of stadium lights shining its light up from below. And into all the spaces that exist between these banks of stadium lights, visualize now more stadium lights filling those spaces. So now you are in this sphere of stadium lights, but these are living lights, not just powerful electric lights. These lights radiate with divine truth and love, with divine healing grace. And every aspect of your being now is being radiated with this beautiful light, powerful light. Invite it in. Let it touch everything that you've been working with on every level of your being. Let it purify and quicken you. Let it quicken your vibration. I open to this light for the deepest purification, the most pervasive transformation, and the most powerful and permanent liberation. Now I'd like you to imagine that these lights begin to pull back. I'd like you to visualize that we're all sitting together, all 30 of us here right now. We're all sitting together. And these stadium lights have pulled back so that now they're radiating on the entire group. A brilliant sphere of light radiating into this entire group. And now what I would like you to do is let go of thinking about yourself and about the light healing and purifying you. And I'd like you to think only about everyone else in the group and wish for them that this light will be a tremendous healing agent in their life. Wish for them that it will purify them at the deepest level and help to heal and awaken them at the highest level. Just see the light coming in to the entire group and healing and quickening and wish that for the others. Concentrate on the others and your desire for them to know peace and well-being, to awaken to their true nature and to live in peace. And notice what intensifies in you as you concentrate on others. As you seek to hold others up into the light. Now, the stadium lights back out even farther to include now everyone that all of us are connected to. So there's 30 of us, and we all have families, and we all have friends and associates and neighbors, and everyone that we have ever been connected to, and everyone that we will ever be connected to. Let the light pull back and surround that entire group. Could be hundreds of people. The lights are brilliant, shining in on all of these people, and you hold the same wish for them to be healed and to come into a great sense of well-being, to know love, to know safety, to know peace, to know their true nature. And you're aware of yourself in the group, in the light, and yet you're allowing your awareness to expand with the lights to include all the people. You hold them with this great wish. Feel your sense of connection to them, even though the majority of them you don't know. You might not be able to see faces, doesn't matter. Just holding them in your heart, in your completely open and expanded heart. And then one last step, the stadium lights pull back farther now to encompass the world. View the entire planet now as being held in this sphere of brilliant light. Again, the light of divine truth and love and healing grace and power. Holding the same wish that all beings, all expressions of the one consciousness will come to be free of suffering, that all beings will be safe and well, that all beings will awaken to their true nature, and that all beings in this planet will live in peace and harmony. And feel how your awareness has expanded to accommodate all of it. Your awareness that knows no boundaries and no limits, because it is a part of universal awareness. Now opening far beyond the sense of an individual self. Being open to the sense of the interconnectedness of all beings here on the planet. And the great wish that all will be well for each and every one. And feel the desire in your soul to be of service in some small way, however you can be used to be of benefit to all. And the light shines into the human shadow, the shadow of human consciousness. Does its healing and purification work there. Shines to all the areas in the world that are troubled, all the sick, all the angry, all the unrest, all the injustice, all the ignorance that we still languish under, all the self-centeredness. It's all touched with this light of divine grace. So then let yourself take a couple of nice deep breaths. Feel yourself in this body and how this body is being supported by the chair or the couch. And as you begin to open your eyes and look around the room, continue to maintain the sense of yourself as much more expanded, being much more than this body, much more than this name and role. That you are a part of the larger whole. Feel the effect of the practice, whatever it might be. All right. So I invite you to bring yourself around and to open your eyes and so as I always do, I'd like to invite you to uh, make any comments or ask any questions about our process tonight. I want to underscore that these practices aren't brand new. There are some new things perhaps in them, especially for some of you who may be rather new. For those of you that have been hanging out with me for a long time, it's not a lot new here. It's not what it's about. It's about supporting one another, coming together and sharing an intention to more deeply going into the experience. To know about a practice is one thing, right? And to embody it and let it transform your life is another thing. That takes practice. That takes regularity. So we come together and do these practices together, not to give something new for the mind to chew on and place on a shelf as a trophy and say, yeah, that's a cool idea. It's not about that. It's about, especially doing this together, it's about coming together in a practice and letting it have its full effect in healing and transforming us. Doing this in a shared context is extremely important and will, I believe, become even more important as time goes by and we learn how important it is for us to come together in a sense of deep connection and collaboration to meet the challenges and problems of the world, that we must do it together, that we must do it from the soul. So this is wonderful practice.